So I have two things. The first one is after that neuroauricular, which I had never had one or done one.
Okay, so just to let everyone know,
Yeah.
a bunch of us in this room, but not everybody in this room, decided to be super creepy with each other.
Yeah.
And do this thing called neuroauricular therapy. So like we had 6 tables and 12 people, and we did these like oils and this certain massage thing that's supposed to like kind of activate your neurological system, and then the other person would lay down and the other person did the other person's like little oils and massage thing. And it's supposed to help connect your neurological system, and if there's anything that's not connected, it kind of reactivates that area. And some people have had dramatic response from it. So she's mentioning that thing. So a bunch of us did that together.
I'm the one that like brought it to the attention of everyone, having never experienced it myself. So anyway,
I was super jazzed about it because I'm all in on the neurological system.
Yeah.
So I'm the one who wanted to do it.
And we were talking about like mental health, brain health, all that stuff. So anyway, I kind of went in like, I literally had no idea what to expect, even though I'm the one that was like, hey, you should check this out. And I have had like almost zero fear thoughts since then.
Wow.
Yeah. I know, crazy.
Wow.
I've noticed a little bit more coming, and I'm like, oops, it's time for another neuro. Just like kind of just keep with that healing, because not always will one time do the trick. Anyway,
so therapeutic healing.
It was I'm pleasantly surprised by that. But the second thing is when we started school, I'm going to talk about school because it was a good and exciting week. My little Eleanor, who started kindergarten,
Yay!
She didn't cry, and her teachers are so sweet, and they've been teaching for like 18 years, each of them. She has 2 teachers, and like, because we were a homeschool family, and so now my kids are in public school, and like, it just, like, God just keeps reassuring me that this is the right place. And then this guy is in 2nd grade, and last year, he didn't have my favorite teacher, and he kind of ended the year not as, his reading wasn't as strong as they would have hoped it would be. I personally could care less because he's in 1st grade and we'll get there. But this year, his teacher, and I had no idea this, I requested this particular teacher because his friend is going to be in the class. All about keeping the friends together. And his teacher is a reading specialist, like has been a reading specialist. I was like, ugh. Like, I didn't pray that. I wasn't really sure how, if he needed extra assistance or how that would happen. But God just was like, here you go. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And you've got this teacher that like really knows how to work with these kids. I mean, any kid who is in 2nd grade who is learning how to read.
Yeah.
All of them. And so that was just really nice.
That's a cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hooray. All right, anyone else? Before we're moving on? I just love that we're growing as community. I love that we're sharing our stories. I love that we're sharing our life, and that has like so much value that we take time, to hear a little piece of what God's doing in our lives. So I love that. At this point, we are going to release kids to go be with Miss Gisandra, to be champions and game changers, to be powerful and strong and kind and good, to discuss cool, secrety things in the time that they're going to spend with Miss Gisandra.
If you have beverages, they will need to remain in this room.
Oh, yep. Keep your beverage here and come back and have your beverage back here.
Yep.
Yay! So what I'd love for you all to do is grab a card out of your bucket if you do not have one, and a writing utensil. And for those of you who have been with us for a while, what we have been doing over the last couple of weeks is going, there is an area of my life that I want breakthrough. And so we have been pursuing, each of us, an area in our life where we want a breakthrough. Mine was I want to understand this concept of mental health. I want to be mentally healthy. I know that mental health is kind of the foundation of everybody's life, is how you perceive life events and how you recover from difficulties. And by the way, now that I can share this story, I super traumatized my son this week. Like, it's totally my fault. I did this. I can't believe, I know. Look, he's so not surprised. So Abraham had a little bit of a challenging first week. We're in the car and I see a mama quail with some really teeny tiny baby quails, like the really, really tiny ones that are like this big, little tiny puffballs. You can't even believe they're really a bird. They're so small. And I am driving down the road in our neighborhood and I see them and I'm like, oh, Abraham. And I stopped the car and I said, come over here and look at these birds.
You're really going to tell this story?
Wait, Mom, why? Can I not? It's not okay?
I don't know.
Okay.
They all know where this is going already.
So I said, Abraham, come take a look at the birds, thinking he would just undo his seatbelt and look out the window at the birds. But he hopped out of the car and ran around to look at the birds. And so when he did that, the little tiny one, like one of the little ones, ran under the car. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, watch it, make sure I don't run over it, and I will pull forward, and then we will get back in the car and go. And he was like, they're so cute. And I'm like, I know, they're so cute. And I just wanted to add some joy to, you know, some really difficult days of starting out school new for a tender-hearted boy, right? I mean, I'm just thinking little tiny little puffballs, like, right? This is going to bring joy to his little sweet tender heart. And this is why you should never watch Go Diego Go and Dora the Explorer, you know, who all think that humans should save the animals. Because I'm pulling forward and then this little tiny bird like runs down the street. And so I'm like, well, and it couldn't get up the curb where the rest of its family was. So I said, well, just scoop it up and put it over the curb so it's in the median and we'll get on our way. So Abraham's like, okay, so he runs down to pick up the little baby bird, and about this time a school bus is coming and another car is coming, so I'm like, okay, is his door open? Can they get around us? And he needs to hurry, and he comes running up and he has nothing in his hands and he is sobbing. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, I didn't mean to, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what did I just do? And he's like, I tripped on the uneven pavement and dropped the bird and then stepped on it. And it crunched beneath his feet. I'm like, no. I was just trying to add a little fluffy joy to his life. Instead, I have added fluffy trauma. I know, right? I'm like, he's never going to forget this for the rest of his life.
See, you're full of all this hope and dreams.
I am. And they get...
If you were just afraid, he would have been in the car and none of this would ever happen.
I need to be more fearful. By the way, I'm the yes parent, just in case y'all didn't know, and he is the... No. Can
we get out of the car and go on the street to look at birds? No. Their parents did not do a good job of finding a nesting area that was not in the middle of roads.
So, what does this have to do with anything? Well, these are the kinds of events that we experience, and then we have no idea what to do with them, and later on in life, they impact us. And they sit around in our unconscious, impacting and affecting our ability to take risks or be hopeful and to take chances. In fact, I don't know, any of you watch Grey's Anatomy? Yeah, right? Thank you, my two peeps. Okay, thank you, 3. You didn't have to raise your hand, but I saw the look of yes, right? They even had, in one of the most recent episodes this last season, Owen. Oh yeah, 15 years. Yes, 15 seasons.
I've never seen a single episode.
So,
don't need to.
Owen, you've now watched for, 7 years, sabotage every relationship he's ever been in, and you're like, when? I mean, you want to just throw him off a cliff. But he ends up going and getting therapy, and the therapy that I know, right? So this former soldier goes in.
Just have Abraham come and rescue him.
Right. Just run down the road and pick him up and help him over the curb.
That's all you need to do.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's totally my fault. Well, don't send your son after a little fluffy creature.
Oh, it is her fault.
Anyway, Owen, the doctor in this storyline, goes in to see a therapist, and they go back and connect with what is it that is unconsciously causing you to behave in ways that sabotage the very things that you want. And so in going after each of these areas that we've all, many of us have said we want. We're going to be talking just a little bit about what may be in our unconscious that God wants to heal, so that we can not only just be healed and whole, we can also have victory in these areas that have been kicking our buns, for who knows how long. So for those of you who have cards, please grab a card, and if you have already written down or already in the past said, this is the area that I'm going after, just write that down again, or if God has invited you to consider another area in addition to that, go ahead and write down a new area. For those of you who haven't participated in this, write down an area that you want to see victory in. And honestly, you don't have to believe in God. That's totally fine too, because it's fine. Amazing things happen whether or not you believe. And so this is just an area that you want victory in your life. And I'm going to give you a moment. Yeah, you want to change and upgrade yours, update it?
Can I just completely change it?
Yes, you can completely change it. Okay, do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Did you think we were going to make you stick to that one thing you wrote on a card one Sunday? You can change any time.
It's not against the rules. Hey, your mom changed hers. She went, in addition to this one, I want this one as well. So
Are you can just...
It's part of the process, is upgrading and changing.
There you go.
Didn't you just last week go, I'm changing mine? I want this, but I'm also updating this. Okay, so Taylor, what's the new thing you're going after? The thing that you would like?
She may not want to share.
Oh, do you want to share?
Sure.
See.
Should ask, don't tell.
Sorry. She's my second daughter. I just kind of assumed I knew. I could be wrong.
I want health.
Health. Yes. Right? How many of you agree with that one? Health. You just wrote that down? Really? Changed yours to health? Whoa, that's cool. Yes. Okay. Who else wants to share what theirs is? You changed yours. Yeah, this is so great.
My original one I liked, but it was kind of for other people. And for me,
Yes.
I want to go after hearing clear words of wisdom.
Yes.
That would be new for me.
Yeah. Clear words of wisdom. Excellent. Okay. What else? Who else wants to share their thing? And if you've already shared this group, you can share again. It's okay. It's okay to share.
I'm cheating by using my biggest word that I could come up with that would cover everything. The word is shalom. So I would like shalom in every area of my life.
And shalom means to you?
Completeness, wholeness, wellness, from everything from relationships to community to finances to well-being internally and externally.
That's so good. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, Anne, because I'm going to mention something. I know, Greg, sorry, you're in the back. I'm grabbing for just a second. But
That's a Sharpie.
it is not. In ancient times, many people have different perspectives on what snakes represent. How many of you love snakes? I'm sorry. Totally love snakes. I am a fan of snakes. And by the way, red racers, so beautiful,
I saw
right?
a couple red racers on the road today.
Did? Oh, I'm so jealous. They're so magnificent. Yes.
No. I thought maybe I'll just slip the clutch and then... Never mind. Did not do that.
Oh my gosh.
I let it be. It's out there getting food. Let it be.
So in ancient times, snakes did not have the same, they didn't have the same symbolism that many people have for snakes today. In fact, in ancient times, in biblical times, it was a snake that was wrapped on a staff that the Israelites were asked to look upon for healing. And that symbol is such an archetype for healing that to this day, the symbol for healing in the United States is what? Two snakes on a staff. So that symbol of a snake being evil or not good or fearful or a bad omen is not universal. And so in Genesis 2 is an image of a snake, and it was considered, I'm going to put this as his little happy. He's happy. He has a smiley face. Hello, I'm happy. And this is his tail. I know that's You can draw one better, babe.
Snakes don't have tails. It's just their whole body.
It's just their whole body. There's the tail. And there is a picture of a snake in Genesis and it's called crafty. But does anybody know what the real word is for crafty? Because that's been interpreted, or cunning, or crafty, but that's not the actual word that's used. What is it? Very close. Should be dead. Very close. Excellent. Should be dead. It's what they say. But are you ready for this? I love these kinds of things. Are you ready? Vulnerable and wise. Vulnerable and wise. So, and it is a picture of a circle that actually represents wholeness. That is vulnerable and wise. And so there is this interpretation that the serpent represented a coming awareness of self. And that it said Adam and Eve were in the garden and they were what? Naked. Naked. Okay, you're on fire tonight. Excellent. Not should be dead, naked. And you know what word is the exact same word that's used? The same word. They were vulnerable. So it was saying they were without this part. They had a lack of, and there many people would say, consciousness. So we're familiar with those terms. It would be that they were, and I'll give this back to you, babe. I know it's like, sorry, I'm totally breaking the rules here. Sorry. If you would put on there conscious and unconscious. There are many who believe that story is really more symbolic of the birth of humanity into consciousness than it is about a choice to obey or disobey.
I spelled this correctly.
Is this a recent conversation again? How does this happen? I just love this. And so all of us start in a state of he has the PhD. He has the PhD. I have, yeah.
Well, that's what I had, and I swore it was wrong.
Unconscious, not conscience. Not conscience.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought I spelled conscience.
Conscious.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to
Okay, sorry. So, it's super great that we don't even attempt to be professional. Because, yeah. Anyway. We get it. So,
never.
And you're the one who has the PhD in psychology.
That I can't spell.
But the psychology. Okay, so all of us have existed in an unconscious state in the womb. We were totally alive, we were totally aware, we received input, we interacted, but it was an unconscious state. And when we came into this world, most of our life is unconscious. At what point do we realize that children are becoming conscious, self-conscious?
When they start willfully disobeying.
A little bit before that, but yes.
Slightly before.
They become aware that they are not the same as their mother.
Yes. At the moment at which they start to self-differentiate, and they're no longer just a part of the atmosphere that they're around, they become self. So I want you to put self up here if you don't mind. Self-conscious. They become aware of themselves. So there are many who would reinterpret or would interpret not so much a loaded good and bad understanding, but would say that the awareness of goodness and badness is a natural part of the process of separating ourselves from others and becoming self-conscious. And that being integrated with both parts, the snake eating its tail is a representation of shalom. Wholeness. Without beginning, without end. Wholeness. Those entity parts of ourselves
It's also
coming
just a
together.
little strange.
It is just a little bit strange. But we're talking about symbolism here. Ancient writing is a lot about the process of humanity understanding itself. And it's not unlike dreams. It's not unlike the stories that are told when the human is trying to work out and sort out its sense of self. And so the stories that lasted were the fantastical stories, the stories that were told at the fire, the stories that were told from one generation to the next were the fantastical stories, the stories that caught your attention, because it wasn't until hundreds of years later that they were written down. So these are stories that were told from one generation to the next, and then they're written down, these fantastical stories that have great symbolism and great value and meaning, and God is so in the midst of them, but not so much always in the ways that we've seen in the past. But they are a part of humanity discovering its sense of self. It's not unlike when we have a dream. You know how you have a dream and it's like disjointed and discombobulated? That's a part of your unconscious working out what your conscious doesn't know what to do. So, do you want to add to that? No, okay. I thought you were. It's one way of working at it. Abraham actually stumbled across a really cool video. It's like 2 minutes long, and I'll send you the link if I can find it again. It was really cool. And it was what's happening when you dream really weird dreams. And they're saying all throughout the day, you have random weird thoughts that you're consciously not okay with. Right? Anybody had any of those, right? You are consciously not okay. So what do? You either judge them, you assess them, you avoid them, you disregard them, you feel guilty, you feel shame, whatever it is. But you also have thoughts throughout the day that you are so not okay with that you don't even become consciously aware of them. And so there are people who say that what we have a tendency to do, is process those in our unconscious state, which is in our dreams. Because our unconscious is not afraid of judging those thoughts. Our unconscious isn't worried that those thoughts mean bad things about who we are. And so that's how we come to resolution, is because our unconscious knows more than our conscious self, because our conscious self was taught Bible school. Our conscious self was taught we're bad. Our conscious self was taught that all these things need to be like managed and contained, and that they are assessing in terms of good and evil. But our unconscious self knows better and is able to work them out without having to scrutinize and assess them. So when we come to places where we are going after areas of our lives that have typically been difficult, what do you think comes out? The conflict, the inner conflict and the stuff that we haven't dealt with. And one of the best ways that we can deal with that is, one, we can just ask the Lord, hey, help me work with this. Or we can do one other thing, which is we can do some meditation or meditative or listening prayer. And so Lindsay and I actually have been thinking about doing a little piece on this in the midst of this, and then Lindsay brought it up tonight, which was, yay, so great. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes and give you guys some options on meditation that you might find helpful. So how many of you do active meditation now? Yay, some of you do, okay. There are a lot of different forms of meditation. If you look it up online.
I practice passive meditation.
Sleeping. And that is a form of meditation. It is unconscious meditation. But most people who are wanting to practice meditation are wanting to practice conscious meditation, which is an intentional approach to resolving the inner conflicts in some way or another. And of course, there's tons of science on this, and there are many people who go, okay, there's 30 different ways of doing meditation, but I think it kind of narrows down to a couple of simple ways. One of them is focusing on a specific thought or phrase, and focusing all of your attention on that thought or phrase until everything else kind of disappears. How many of you have practiced that? How many of you love it? Excellent. How many of you find it super difficult if you've practiced it? It can be very stressful, and it can be very difficult because you have an intense amount of energy going towards a specific thought. So yeah, it's like a mantra. And that's a focused meditation, and it's super beneficial for a lot of people. There is another one which is trying to get rid of all thoughts. Anybody practice that style, right? Okay. How many of you love the getting rid of all thoughts? Excellent. Okay. So for some people, it's super, super helpful. For other people, it's super stressful because they find as soon as they try to get rid of 1 or 2 or 5 or 100 or 1,000 thoughts, they have a bunch more. And they find themselves not getting to a place of peace and relaxation, but it's almost a fight. Yeah, it's frustrating. And then they also get scared of the thoughts that come to them, not realizing that they don't have to do anything with them. They don't have to do anything with them. So they're trying to get rid of something that's actually trying to come to the surface. Not because there's something wrong with you, not because random, weird, crazy thoughts that happen mean anything. It's that the discombobulation of the way that you interpret things in your unconscious is coming to the surface, and it will require a little bit of education, a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of that vulnerable wisdom to sort it out. So there is another way, and the gal who has done the most work that I'm familiar with, some of you are probably way more educated than I am on this, is Cynthia Burgol. She has lots of books on Amazon, and she has one of them called Centering Prayer. And it's another form of meditation developed, many, many years ago and then adapted over the centuries. And her version of centering prayer, of course, isn't hers. It was somebody else's, and somebody else's and somebody else's. But it is kind of called a releasing meditation. And so you're not focusing on a phrase or a thought, and you're not attempting to get rid of all your thoughts. You are allowing your thoughts to surface. You're allowing emotions to surface. You're allowing physical sensations to surface, and you are allowing yourself to release them. So one of the best ways to describe this, or to kind of visualize it, is if you could just picture yourself underwater. So picture yourself as if you're underwater. And up above you can be noise and racket, and all the grocery list, the challenges of the day, the whatever. And you will have thoughts come by, like a fish, or like a piece of seaweed, or bubbles, or whatever. And as those thoughts come by, you just let them go gently. You just let them go. And most people who first start out in this type of meditation find it to be the easiest form of meditation they've ever practiced, because it's very gentle. You're not trying to get rid of things, and you're not trying to hold on to a thing. It is an intentional calmness within yourself. So you release the thoughts. If you have feelings come up, you release them as well. And you're also not trying to accomplish a thing or a state of being. The practice of it is centering. You're allowing all those things to surface and be released without judgment. And in the midst of that, somehow your neurology changes. And inner conflicts that you haven't been able to resolve for a really long time resolve themselves. And we don't even understand how or why exactly. So Lindsay felt led to do a meditation during our practice, right? So you want to come up with me? Is that okay? And we normally do a practice where we practice hearing from God, like during this last 15 minutes of our time together. But Lindsay felt led to lead us in a meditation, and she said, can you kind of speak to that? So we're all wanting to pursue an area of breakthrough with the Lord, and meditation may be, for many of us, a real kind of ease through to some breakthrough in ways that we have never understood, because we do have this area of our lives, the unconscious, that is directing so much of how we feel and act and think, so much more than the conscious, that as soon as it pops out, what do? As soon as these behaviors or thoughts or feelings that we find unacceptable pop out, what do? Yeah, we push them back down. Instead of saying, thank you. Thank you for showing me that there is something going on that I am not okay with. Thank you for showing me that I am unsettled inside myself. Thank you for showing me that I am wounded and I didn't know that I was. Instead of thanking ourselves for the behavior that's been, we try to manage it, we try to control it, we try to suppress it, we try to stop it, and then we find ourselves in that heavy cycle, right? So centering prayer is about a now actively choosing to let ourselves have a place of non-judgment. So, is that enough?
Yeah, will you stay up here?
Yeah, I'd love to
Okay.
stay up here.